Going, and now we're live. Welcome back to the Pop Cult Online Power Hour. We call it the Power Hour because we have the two most powerful men in the country talking comics and pop culture. Me on the East Coast and my buddy Bob Breton on the West Coast. Say hello, Bob.
Hello, Rick.
Let me show you this because I don't know if you've seen this.
Bring the power.
This,
Ooh,
see it,
vintage.
vintage. This is, I guess, the first action figure ever made.
Wow, cool.
Superman. It's in pretty good shape considering the age, which would be about 75 years old, I think. And it's missing a cape, but this is why I go to estate sales.
Wow.
One of the companies that I deal with regularly tipped me off to this, and I got there and I bought it, without even quibbling over the price. And once I heard the price, I was even doubly shocked. But this is,
Was it an auction, or did you just had a price and you just said sold?
yeah, no, I just said sold. I didn't care what the price was because what are the odds of you running across something like
Oh
this?
no, but you didn't have to bid against somebody.
No, no. I had to get there before anybody else did.
Did you hop on your hog and burn up highway?
So that's the first, and this is the latest. So it's all Superman all the time.
That's right. From Kal-El to Rick L.
And the stack of comics that I have in front of me, just random. Dazzler, come on, we've all got them.
Go checks.
Frank Springer, writer and penciler, with Vinnie Coletta inks. Probably some of his last works. This was from 1983. They're fun reads, especially the later issues once they took themselves a little less seriously. Sandman Mystery Theater.
Cool. Yep, great series.
Yep. By Matt Wagner. Which
Yep.
at some point we'll talk about him. And then this. We should do a whole episode, or maybe two,
Archie.
on Archie, because this stuff is great. It's probably the book I read the most. And it's a joke book, so, it's just, one-pagers, half-pagers.
Millions of yaks.
Yes.
Laughs. with
Not
two
too
Fs.
strenuous. Not too strenuous on the old noggin, which is kind of nice. So,
randomly sitting here by me is a
Wow.
Phoenix Comic Con sketch cover by Tony Parker.
mm-hmm.
You'll not see that anywhere else. I got a Mike Grell Green Arrow.
Ooh. Very
Stuart
nice.
Sagar did a Electra for me.
Wow, okay.
Got a airbrushed Black Widow.
Cheesecake.
Either on a side of a van or on this comic book. And then I got this Green Lantern Corps cover. Look at that.
Who did that?
Ben Glendenning, who is a guy, an artist buddy of mine that I've been seeing at Phoenix Cons for 9 or 10 years.
What is this Phoenix Con of which you speak?
The Phoenix Comic Con. Like 2 cons, 2 weekends, 1 tired Bob. This one I had to drive 6.5 hours to get there. Con, 6.5 hours, drive back. I was tired.
So take us through your con experience at Phoenix. How was it different than Long Beach, which we talked about last week?
Phoenix is much larger. Phoenix, Long Beach show was a relatively small show. I would say and Phoenix has grown over the last few years. There were probably, I'm guessing, there was at least 75,000 people in attendance at Phoenix.
That is big.
Might have been a little bigger. I know it was 55 or 60 last year, and it was definitely bigger this year. But, you know, on the show floor, it wasn't really any more crowded because the show floor was probably 5 times the size of the Long Beach Expo. You know, so there's just a lot of room. There were a lot of artists, a lot more big name artists and writers. You know, we had, in addition to Mike Grell, you had Don Rosa, for instance, of Duck, Duck fame, Uncle Scrooge, Life and Time of Scrooge McDuck fame. We had Dan Jurgens. There were tremendous number of those guys, and then a lot of celebrities. Because as we talked about last week, you know, the whole celebritification of cons. You know, you had Bruce Campbell and Game of Thrones people and Walking Dead people and Doctor Who people, and you know, there were so many cosplayers, and you know, just it was like Long Beach but much bigger, right? And it's a fun con, although hot as Hades. Not really. I mean, it was only 107.
But it's a dry heat.
It was hot to me, but the locals are like, it's not that bad because in another couple of months it'll be 125. So I guess, you know, in comparison, it was like, you know, mild. But, you know, you go outside, it's like 9 o'clock at night and you're sitting outside eating dinner and it's just like sort of sweltering.
Sort of sweltering. I like that.
But
put that on a t-shirt.
You know, it's not that bad. It's just like a warm bath at nighttime. It was probably, you know, 85, 90 at 10 o'clock at night. You don't have to worry about not having a jacket. Put it that way.
Oh, how many ways can you get heat stroke? Boy, oh boy, that sounds like a...
I wouldn't want to be outside, but, you know, the interesting thing about Phoenix is there's a lot of stuff that they use the insulating properties of the earth. You know, the Phoenix Comic-Con, the main show floor is 2 floors underground.
Really?
Yeah, you go in, and the main floor of the convention center is where all the meeting rooms are, and those are usually upstairs, right? And then you go down 2 escalators to get to the show floor. And even the ballpark there where the Diamondbacks play, I mean, of course, it's got a roof on it and everything, but as you walk by the ballpark, where you're at the street level, that's like the second deck of a normal ballpark.
Oh, wow.
The actual playing field is, again, it's like 2 stories below ground. And that way, you know, just the earth around it keeps it from being as hot down there. This kind of natural insulation. It's kind of interesting how they make do in the desert the way that they do. But it's a great con. I mean, it's, you know, this time of year it's a little warmer, but it's hard to get convention center space in Phoenix in January because it's really nice there, and you know, everybody in the, you know, your part of the world is, you know, under 3 feet of ice and snow at that time of year, so it's like, sounds like a really good idea to have a convention in Phoenix, and you play golf, and you know, you can go outside, and it's really, you know, it's like in the 60s, high 60s and 70s in January in Phoenix, so it's fairly nice. So they kind of can't get convention space that time of year there, so they moved it. It's not full-on summer yet. Like I said, when you're July, August, it's 120s, you know, regularly. It'll be, my dad used to live out there, it'd be a couple of weeks of the year it never goes below 100. And I mean, like, middle of the night, 2 a.m., it never goes below 100 for like 2 weeks in a row or something. It's crazy hot. But the people who live there are used to it, I think. You know, you just stay inside a lot, and inside the convention center it's nice. I park under the convention center every day, so I park down a couple of levels, took elevators up right into the convention center. It was quite nice. I mean, there were some good panels that I went to, good creators, and I've been going so long, I know a lot of people there, so it's just like out at dinner each night with people and friends and just having a good time chatting. And I was out with the group, and Mike Grell was with us at the Saturday night, I guess. And they were drinking tequila shots and stuff, and Grell had a pen in each hand and was drawing people's faces, the left half of the face with one hand and the right half of the face with the other hand, simultaneously. That's kind of like a bar trick.
Wow.
That was crazy. But, wow. And I just listen to these guys tell the stories, because I know a lot of artists that are not like superstar artists, but they know superstar artists. So if I kind of like hang out with them, I can kind of tag along, and I find myself sitting at a table with Mike Grell.
How cool is that? That's awesome.
That's kind of fun.
So how would you rank Phoenix Con compared to the others? If you had to, like, say San Diego's #1, Chicago's #2, New York's #3, where would Phoenix fall under the list?
I think it's kind of like there's the top tier cons, like you said. It's C2E2, New York, and San Diego are that top tier of cons.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's kind of like a second tier of cons that is like, like Emerald City, WonderCon, MegaCon, Heroes Con, that kind of thing. That's kind of like the next tier. Mm-hmm. And then there's the third tier, and there's a lot of cons at that level. And I'm probably missing some at that second tier. But Phoenix, I would put at that third tier. But they're growing year over year. I mean, they were much smaller, and they're kind of encroaching up into that next level.
Hmm.
They're getting more and more great guests at the con. You can really tell when a con has made it to that second level, though, because Marvel and DC have a booth there, right? So, Marvel and DC, obviously, at least one of them, right? Not always to both. I mean, the top tier ones, Marvel and DC are there, right? Then the next tier, Marvel and or DC will be there. The third tier cons, they usually don't have Marvel and DC, but they will have Valiant, IDW, Dark Horse, all the other publishers are going to be there, right? And Boom, and so that's where these cons are. They've got a lot of these publishers are at the show, and it's always fun. I mean, I got to talk to the guy I was talking to, because I know a lot of the marketing guys because I do the comic reviews. And I was talking to the marketing guy from Dark Horse, and he introduced me to the guy who wrote The Fifth Beatle. Do you know that book, The Fifth Beatle?
No, nothing like
that. It's a great book. It's the Brian Epstein story.
Oh, wow.
And It's got art by Andrew Robinson. It's got gorgeous art in it. And it's just, it goes from the early days when Epstein, first, he was running or working in a record store, and he first heard the Beatles, and he believed in them, and he really promoted the band. And at the same time, it's, he's homosexual, so that was actually illegal in Britain at the time, right? Yep. And that whole thing. So it's a fabulous graphic novel, and he was there, and Aub, who's the marketing guy, introduced me to Vivek, and we talked a little bit, not that much, but I got to meet him, and he signed my book to me, for Bob, all this, put an inscription in it, and it's fun to meet those kind of creators, and also turn people on to books like that. When I brought it home and I had it sitting out, Janine saw it, and she never reads comics. and she saw this sitting. You know, seriously, the only comic she's ever really read is Gru. I mean, that's the hat, right? Gru hat. This is the all Janine reading episode. What things she likes. So, but she picked it up and she started reading it and said, "This is really good." It's like, you know, it's a biography. There's no capes and tights and no, you know, crazy stuff going on. It's a very accessible art style. And she said, "I'm going to read this book." You know, so that's a huge plus for Vivek. And you know, it's up for an Eisner right now. So anyone who can vote in the Eisners, you can probably vote in the Eisners because you have professional standing somewhere, you know, for the inking and stuff.
Yep.
But only people in the industry can vote for the Eisners, excluding media and press. So I cannot, because I am the unclean, you know, horrible people off on the sides that, you know, they'll talk to us, but will not let us vote on their awards. But you know, that is something fun. And Stan Lee was there.
Oh, good.
They had Adam West, Julie Newmar, and Burt Ward at the Phoenix Con. They did a big panel in the big ballroom. You know, just
how's Adam? He's getting up there in years, right?
Yeah, they're all getting up there in years.
Well, he's got to be in his 80s, right?
Probably so, yeah.
Because he
had to have been
when he did
in his
Batman.
late 30s or early 40s when he was playing Batman, right?
Right, right. Oh, wow. That's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Still looks good, though.
But, no, it was a great time. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you're anywhere in the Southwest, I would highly recommend the Phoenix Con. I mean, it's not necessarily something that I would fly across the country to go to, but for people who are in Arizona, Southern California, Colorado, New Mexico, you know, some place that's within a reasonable short hop, it's a great con. And I didn't stay this time of year, too. Hotels are dirt cheap. I mean, as long as you don't want to stay, like, right at the convention center, and even then, they're not that much. Let's say, you know, right near the convention center downtown, maybe it was like $150 or $160 a night, which is not that much compared to New York City or San Diego during con. But I got a hotel about 15 minutes away from the convention center, $60. The Hampton Inn, you know.
Did you walk in with a pistol? What the hell?
The Hampton Inn, which is a Hilton property, you know. It was a nice place, free internet.
There you go.
I mean, I wasn't getting back to the room until 11:30 midnight. I'd get online, I'd post a review or something for Comic Spectrum, upload some things, go to sleep, get up around 7 a.m., post a couple of things, grab a little bit of breakfast, and head right back out. So, I mean, I really just needed some place to sleep and use the internet for, you know, 45 minutes a day.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Are you able to see comments on the side? 'Cause we've got our super fans back with us, Jade and Justin.
Let me take a look. I have to shut this toolbox somehow.
Yeah, just go to the comments. Jade was just saying that Emerald City had 70,000 this year.
Yeah, Emerald City, I know people who've gone to that, and that's a very big show. That's a good show, too. I've never been up to it.
Well, I should get up there because now that my brother's been out there for a while, and we went up there for the wedding back in January, and he's expecting his first child, I think in October. So now I've got an excuse to get out there to check out that con. Oh, and to visit the nephew too.
Yep.
But before I forget, speaking of the Fifth Beatle, I got to go see, I guess probably
The Fourth Beatle.
The Fourth Beatle, yes. I had to think of the timing there. Was John and Paul, then George, then Ringo. Uh, Ringo Starr's All Star Band, unbelievable. I was kind of what I initially wanted to do. Paul McCartney is going to be in town, and I figured let me go see Paul before you never know what's going to happen. So I went online, was looking at tickets. The tickets were just outrageous, outrageous, and I kind of lost hope. But then I heard Ringo was going to be in town. Got tickets to him pretty easy. They weren't cheap, but I got really good seats. And everybody's familiar with Ringo Starr and some of his music, so I figured, what the heck, we'll give it a shot. So the thing that impressed me the most, the show started at 8 o'clock. We got into our seats at about quarter of. At 8 o'clock, Ringo runs on stage and just starts out with a song. Boom, just like that. And I was like, that's refreshing, because usually it's, the star is late, he's dragging his heels, or there's some obscure opening act. No, it was, boom, Ringo, don't come easy. Boom, just right out there. Did 2 songs. Then they switched over to one of the other band members who was a keyboardist with Santana, so they did a Santana song. Then they went to Todd Rundgren, who was playing guitar, did one of his songs. It was a great show. It was 2 hours, and it went by amazingly fast. Ringo sounded great. If you saw him, you would not believe that this guy is 73 years old. He's running around on stage. He's out there singing, dancing. He's running back up. He's getting on the drums. He's just, pounding away at the skins. And it was a good show. So if you do get a chance to see Ringo, by all means, go. It's well worth it. So, and Becca loved it.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah. In the middle of the week, though. But
do you go to a lot of concerts?
Not a lot. I decided this year that I'm going to try to get to more. I know I've got a Steely Dan concert coming up in August. I think Fleetwood Mac's going to be touring soon. I'd like to catch them. I missed the last time the Stones were in town. I really wanted to go, but I hesitated. I was on the computer on a Saturday morning. I hesitated and missed my chance. It was just like a half second. Should I do this? And boom, they were sold out.
Jeez. We went and saw Sting and Paul Simon a couple of months ago.
Yeah, how was that?
That was a great show.
Now, did they play together? Because that seems like an odd pairing.
They played together.
Wow.
They played each separately, and then they played together again.
Wow.
So they opened the show playing together. So, they'd play a Sting song, play a Paul Simon song. They maybe did 4 songs at the beginning together, and then they, I forget who went first. Let's say Sting. Then Sting went on and did a set of about 8 songs, and then Paul Simon came on and did about 8 songs, and then they got back together, and then they both closed out the show doing about another 3 or 4 songs together. It was really, really good.
My only beef, and this is something that's been bothering me for probably maybe 20 years or more, I don't understand why ticket prices are so high, because the actual price of the ticket is not that bad. It's the fees associated with the tickets that really just irk me. It just adds another 30% onto the price, and I don't know where this money is going. All these convenience fees. It sounds like a bunch of crap.
It's going to, it's going to Ticketmaster, right? I mean, they've kind of got a monopoly on that stuff. It's if you want that ticket, and you're not, you don't want to buy it from the ticket broker who snatched it up. You got to get in there in those first 5 minutes, try to buy your seat, right? And then, the days of actually being able to buy a ticket at the box office for anything are long gone, right? I mean, they pretty much only sell these things online. Remember when you used to go and you'd stand in line somewhere to try to buy the tickets? You camp out at some Ratty Theater or Stadium or something overnight to try to buy tickets for, whatever concert. And then, it's all just online now. And
Yeah, and all the really good seats weren't bought up in blocks by, radio stations and corporations. So you wind up sitting on the fringes like you do now. I mean, the really good seats you just can't get unless you know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody.
Right.
So
I'm never enthused about floor seats anyway, because the second the show starts, everybody on the floor stands up, and they stand through the entire show. When we went and saw Paul Simon and Sting, Janine got tickets like in the front row. It was at the pond, which is where they have hockey. The Ducks play there. So it's not as big as a football stadium. It's actually it's a decent sized arena, but it's indoors. It's got pretty good acoustics.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like right at the inline. The stage was at one end of the ice, where the ice would have been.
Right.
Where it was covered. And then we were at the other end in the very front row of the upper deck, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, to me that was great. You had a completely unobstructed view. You're like sitting down. I don't want to stand through an entire concert.
Yeah, I haven't been to one in an arena in some time. The one last night was at the Palace Theater, which is an old movie palace that has been renovated, and so anywhere in there is great, unless you're on the far walls. But I just love, and they also do movies there, which I don't go to enough because I love seeing movies on the big screen, the way they used to show them.
Right.
And I plan on doing more of that too, especially with the boys, because they grew up with multiplexes,
Right.
They don't know the whole movie palace experience with the ushers and the concession, and it's a nice thing. And the crowd was just all people our age,
Right.
So there was no drama, no pushing, just a lot of. I sat down, and the guy next to me, I leaned over. It's like, I gotta warn you, I'm gonna be singing, and he just laughed. He goes, "All right, well, as long as you don't scream like a teenager." It's like, I can't guarantee I won't. It's Ringo. But it was a real good time.
My next concert that I bought tickets for, I'll have to tell you, is Hermits.
Oh, wow.
Well, Peter Noon anyway. I don't know if the other Hermits are there, but he's the front man.
Yeah, that's all you need, Peter.
And at the lake this year, we got Lou Gramm from Foreigner, the Pointer Sisters,
oh wow,
and Burt Bacharach.
Oh, see, I love that.
Well, there's more. Those are the three that I'm interested in.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we've seen they get a lot of it at the Lake Mission Viejo. That if you live in Mission Viejo, you're a member of the Lake Association. It's part of your citizenship. You have to pay a certain amount of fees, but you can go to the lake. There's fishing and boating and other things. But they do these concerts every summer, a concert series that's free. You just have to go in the morning, and you get a wristband.
Mm-hmm.
And then they call groups. So, like, you go at, like, 6 a.m., and you get a wristband. So I'll be, like, maybe green 23 or something, and Janine will get a different line, so she gets a different one. She might be gray, 21 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then they pull them out, and they call it, like, each wristband has got, like, 20 people with that color and number. And then they call them out, and those people can go in and they can lay a blanket down on the grass and the hills in this kind of natural arena area where they have the concert stage. And then you just stake out your area, and then you go back. The show starts at like 7 o'clock at night. They got opening acts starting around 6. You bring like a picnic, and you just sit and you listen. But we've seen Boz Scaggs, we've seen Foreigner, Kansas,
Nice.
Bachman Turner Overdrive, all kinds of these old bands. ones I didn't go to, but Janine went to with her sister, like Peter Frampton, Rick Springfield. You know, certain ones I'm like, that's okay. You know, you knock yourselves out.
Well, we do something similar in Albany. We have actually two places. We have the Empire State Plaza, which is this big architectural monstrosity in the middle of the city, and they do free concerts there. And they also do this thing called Live at 5, which is down on the waterfront. And, you know, some pretty big names, and they're all free. But the problem is they do it during the week, and I think it's mostly to cater to the state workers because we are the state capital here. But I'm close enough that it's not that big of a deal. I can go afterward, and, you know, Beck and I will go. We'll just, you know, listen to some music and then go home, and we're not home too late. It would just be nicer if it was like on a Friday, you know, or a weekend. But we've got Saratoga Performing Arts Center, which is probably our biggest venue in the area. I think I'm heading up there Saturday. I'm going to see Journey and the Steve Miller Band. So it's going to be a busy week. But I figured I should do it now while I still enjoy the music of my youth before I turn into just a crotchety old man who doesn't want to leave the house, which I feel creeping in. You know? I'd rather be puttering. Those bands aren't going to be out playing all the time. I mean, like you said, I mean, Ringo's in his 70s. You know, you go see. We went and saw the Rolling Stones, and I mean, what is Jagger? I mean, he's not 80, but he looks like he's 80. You know, he's like that guy's had a hard life, and he's still jumping around and everything. I mean, does a good job. We went and saw. We saw Earth, Wind, and Fire in Chicago. Nice.
Together at the Hollywood Bowl. That was a fabulous show. Those guys were great.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's like there's a lot of these guys who are like doing team-ups on these concerts, you know? I think they just don't have to play as long because we saw Billy Joel and Elton John together.
Yeah, that's one show I've always wanted to see. How was that?
Billy Joel was great. Elton John, he had some surgery a couple of years ago, and his voice is not the same as it was. We saw his Red Piano tour when he was in Vegas, maybe 8 years ago, and his voice is significantly downgraded since then.
Oh, that's too bad.
But, you know, Billy Joel was fabulous.
So, what are your plans for Father's Day, which is coming up?
We're going to go Saturday and see my dad for lunch and see Janine's dad for dinner. And then Sunday we'll stay home because I don't want to have to drive 100 miles plus up to there and back again on Father's Day. It'll be my Father's Day.
So what happens on your Father's Day? Is it just you get pancakes in bed, or you get to not have to mow the lawn? What's the deal?
Maybe I'll watch some marathon of Lord of the Rings movies or something, and force the kids to watch them with me or something. You know. They usually won't. I try not to infringe upon them.
We have a tradition.
Play the Father's Day card. Let them just blow me off.
Especially the last couple of years with the spate of superhero movies, they always seem to come out around Father's Day. So that's been an ongoing tradition. Is that on Father's Day, we'll go see whatever superhero movie is playing. And finally,
there's some movies that have come out recently that I haven't seen yet.
I still have to see X-Men so we can talk about it.
Yeah, X-Men was really good. You'll like it, I think.
Don't spoil it.
Well, you see, Wolverine's in it.
Oh, no! You ruined it.
And he cuts Professor X's head off.
Well, is Jean Grey in this movie at all? Let's just throw out a spoiler alert.
Maybe.
Oh,
you know what movie I want to see? I want to see Maleficent.
Really?
With Angelina Jolie. That looks good.
Yeah, it did. I liked the trailer. It looked really good.
And I wouldn't mind seeing that Tom Cruise movie.
I feel like
With
he just
Emily
did
Blunt, you know, where they do the time travel thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a sucker for those kind of movies. I enjoyed that. What was that movie that Tom Cruise did last summer with the? Did you? I don't know if you saw it or not. It was based on a comic, but you wouldn't know it.
Oh, Morgan Freeman was in it too, right?
Yeah, Morgan Freeman was in it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
IMDb, come to my rescue. Put in Tom Cruise, I'll get like 1,000 movies. Actor.
Uh-oh.
Movie is one before this one.
While Bob's looking
Filmography.
it up, let's look at this little tiny van.
Oblivion. Oblivion. It was Oblivion. I enjoyed that movie.
I didn't see it. Maybe I'll have to or I'll go on iTunes.
He's doing another Mission Impossible. I like the last Mission Impossible
Again,
movie that
Lord.
he did.
I love the last Mission Impossible. That was a great movie.
I enjoyed that movie. He did Rock of Ages. Did you see that one?
Nope. I think Mission Impossible was the last Tom Cruise movie I saw. The last Tom Cruise movie I saw in the theater would have been War of the Worlds.
Wow.
Yeah, that was going back. I
look at the. I'm a sucker for Tom Cruise movies because I'm looking at the list of Tom Cruise movies here, and I've seen almost all of them. I did not see. I didn't even hear of this movie. It's on 2007, Lions for Lambs. Have you ever heard this movie?
Lions for Lambs. No.
Robert Redford, Meryl Streep, and Tom Cruise.
What the hell?
Like, I didn't even hear of this movie. It says, injuries sustained by 2 Army Rangers behind enemy lines in Afghanistan set off a sequence of events involving a congressman, a journalist, and a professor.
Wow.
I don't know which one he plays. I'm guessing, well, Robert Redford is the professor. Tom Cruise is Senator Jasper Irving, so I guess he's the senator, which would make Meryl Streep the journalist. I never even heard of that movie.
Well, I have some bad news. We just spoiled it for Justin. He didn't know that Wolverine is in an X-Men movie, so Justin, disregard that. We were just kidding.
You get to see his naked butt, too.
Oh, no.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, adamantium. It's good for everything.
That might actually get some people to go see it. Ooh, Hugh Jackman butt crack.
Oh, boy. Yeah, so I am looking forward to seeing the X-Men movie.
Did you see Hugh Jackman hosting the Grammy Awards? I mean, the Tony Awards. The Tony Awards. Because, you know, he does have his roots in musical theater. He was, you know that. I mean, he was playing Curly in Oklahoma on Broadway when they picked him to do Wolverine.
I didn't know that.
How's that for casting? Somebody watching him playing Curly in Oklahoma saying, that dude could be the biggest badass mofo superhero in the world, man. Get him out of those chaps. Get him out of that Surrey with the fringe on top and put some adamantium.
Put some claws on that kid. Let's see what he
claws on that guy. That's amazing. And he played Bob Fosse in some autobiographical musical about Bob Fosse.
Really?
Too. I mean, he was full on singing and dancing Hugh Jackman before he became known as Wolverine.
I never did see Les Mis.
You did not miss anything in that one, sir.
Did he sing in that? Come on.
He sang in that. That was not the bad part. The bad part was Russell Crowe singing.
Russell Crowe has a band.
It was awful. Awful. If I wouldn't have been there seeing that movie with Gene and she won, I would have walked out of that movie. And I don't walk out of movies. I would have walked out of that movie.
All right.
I was
what movies?
Blessed Arms of Morpheus. Please let me fall asleep. But then Russell Crowe would start caterwauling, and I'd wake up.
So what other movies have driven you to the edge? I can think of one in particular for me, which was Friday the 13th, Part 3 in 3D. And what was it? Yeah, that was. There was another one. One of the probably Jaws. Jaws 3.
Oh,
Something
Jaws
about
3 3D.
the 3D movies in the 80s were just horrible. And I went to see Jaws 3 because Luke Gossett Jr. was in it, fresh off of Officer and a Gentleman. So I figured, he's on a roll. He's going to give an Oscar-winning performance, and it was just horrible. Just a horrible, horrible movie. Horrible Lou Gossett, horrible Dennis Quaid. It was just unwatchable. And then you had the bad 3D effects. Nothing like what we have nowadays.
Woo!
Yeah.
No, there's not that. I mean, I'm pretty tolerant to movies as long as I'm being moderately entertained. I remember Event Horizon. I don't think I've ever actually walked out of a movie. I was close with Event Horizon.
Really?
You know that movie?
I've heard of it and I've seen parts of it, but
kind of like
it pissed me off.
If I'm thinking of the right movie, it's kind of like a combination sci-fi horror movie.
Lawrence Fishburne and Sam Neill.
Sam Neill.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty terrible.
Not a good cast. What happened?
It did, in fact, have a good cast. Sometimes good casts go awry. It doesn't always work out that way. I mean, but I stay away from certain movies that I just, I could probably be driven out of a movie starring
Pauly Shore?
Yeah, if I had actually seen a Pauly Shore movie, I might have been driven away from it. Some, certain movies that I won't go see them in the first place.
Yeah, Police Academy.
No,
Ernest
I'm not a big fan of weepy drama movies. With somebody dying of some lingering disease and everybody's gathered around crying. So I don't go to those movies. I mean, I kind of go to movies that I will have a fair to midland chance of enjoying what's going on in those movies. I'm sort of shallow that way. I don't like drama. I don't dislike dramas, but I just don't like, really, terms of endearment type of dramas where, there's lots of, when you see women coming out of the theater clutching tissues with red eyes and stuff, I know that's not a movie I want to go see.
You ever go running in and see what's going on in here? What's the big deal?
Unless someone's being eviscerated on screen and that's caused the crying, no.
Well, my thing is, especially, since the advent of the big screen TV, I don't want to really pay $10, $12 to come out of a theater upset. I want to come out of a theater, just gung-ho and happy and just excited that I was there. Like when I walk out of Spider-Man, I'm in an up mood, but I can't go see a comedy. I can't see like a romantic comedy on the big screen. I'd rather just sit home where I can get up at the boring parts and go in the kitchen and putz around.
Right.
Anything with Jennifer Aniston, I'm not going to pay money to see.
That's probably a wise choice. I mean, the ones like most movies with Adam Sandler. There's a couple that are okay.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed Mr. Deeds. Had its moments, and that 50 First Dates or 20 First Dates with Drew Barrymore was good. but then they tried to recapture that with this movie that just came out, and that was like being heralded as one of the biggest flops of the decade, or the last 10 years. Like when Sandler does a movie like Grown Ups, with Kevin James and Chris Rock, and I'm like, no, I don't need to see. I can just look at some of those things and say, I don't really need to see that movie. So by making wise choices like that, it pretty much prevents me from having to walk out of movies with much frequency. Although, sometimes you'll see movies that are, they're so bad that they're laughably, bad, right? You'll watch them because they're bad.
Right.
Kind of like an Ed Wood movie or that Halle Berry Catwoman movie. That was a terrible, terrible movie, right?
But I watched it anyway.
You can't turn away. It's like, you're trying to see what caused this traffic jam. Is there some body hanging out of the window of a car on the other side of the road?
Watching Catwoman was like watching a cow give birth.
Yeah.
You didn't want to see it, but you were there and you had to. And God damn it, I'm still pissed about it.
Superman 4: The Quest for Peace.
I have never seen that movie.
That is a terrible, terrible movie, but I've watched it more than once. You know what movie looked really bad? I'll go back to Adam Sandler for a second. Just seeing the trailers for this cemented the fact that I never, ever want to see this. That movie he did, Jack and Jill, where he played Adam Sandler and his own sister.
Mm-hmm.
That looked so bad. Who is the audience for a movie like that?
I don't know.
You probably have somebody writing in, well, that was me, I want to see that movie. All the Twilight movies. I've never seen a Twilight movie.
Me neither. No interest.
But, those at least have their advocates, right? If you're a teenage girl, that's like high art, right?
I used to go to a lot of movies in the 80s, and I think the movie business was definitely different then because there was just a lot of product, because I think they were really trying hard to compete with the VHS market, so they wanted to put asses in seats. So there was just a space. There's just tons of movies that were coming out, and I don't get that feeling anymore. Because there were just so many just stupid one-off comedies that were just really horrible, but you would go and see them anyway, and I guess those movies nowadays are just, straight to video. So a lot of them you don't hear about.
What about the movies they make that are like those spoof movies with the little gaggy vignettes in them, like Scary Movie or, not a, there's like, they have superhero ones and action movie ones and horror movie ones. Just in general, those don't look like they're very good, but lots of people seem to go see them, so they keep making them.
Yeah, my kids love those types of things. I guess we're just getting old.
Yeah.
I think of classic comedies like Animal House or the Blues Brothers. They just don't make them like that anymore.
A movie that gets panned all the time that I didn't think was that bad was Showgirls. That makes almost every single worst movies of all time list that's ever put together. And maybe I'm just a sucker for naked girls from Saved by the Bell, but I didn't think that movie was that bad.
So one of my favorite bad movies is Starship Troopers. I
love that movie.
That movie was so bad. I saw it 3 times in the theater. I couldn't get enough of it. It was ridiculous, but it was great.
Casper Van Dien and
yeah, there's Johnny Rico.
Yeah, Johnny Rico. Oh, and Doogie Howser as the
as the creepy Nazi doctor, and Denise Richards. Yeah.
I like that movie. They made like several more, and then a TV series out of it too.
I saw the sequels, and they didn't hold up. I mean,
No.
you have to have Paul Verhoeven's just blatant anti-American sentiment running underneath everything to really make it work. That was it. That was an enjoyable flick. It made me a little skittish, though. I mean, every time I saw a bug, I just got a little creeped out afterwards.
As long as they're not flinging an asteroid at you, you're okay.
Which is weird because I saw this huge meteorite the other night. I was actually out on the hammock. It had to be 10:30 at night, and it was this bright light, as bright as one of the brightest stars in the sky, and it was going really fast. And I was like, that is too fast for a plane. What the hell is that? And it just went on for about 10, 15 seconds, and then it just vanished. I was like, wow. I think I just saw a huge meteor just come burning up to our atmosphere.
Yeah. Well, that's got to be cool. I've seen some meteor swarms. I've got a buddy who is into astronomy, and every now and again he'll send out emails to a bunch of people for, just, hey, there's going to be some event like that. There's going to be a meteor swarm. If you look out on Saturday night at 8 o'clock, look to the southwest at, 8:15 p.m., or something like that. And it actually, works. I mean, he put in one time that, go out and look out and you'll see the International Space Station go over.
I was just about to
have a pair of binoculars, you'll be able to see it, because it's not that far up, right? I actually did that.
Let's go. And me and Connor want to go out and see that at some point. Because I think people forget that we have a space station up there. It's something that I used to dream about when I was a kid. All the lies that they told us in science fiction. There'd be space stations and moon bases, and rocket travel is as easy as riding on a bus. And I'll be damned, we're still here.
Yeah, true.
And still no flying cars. What's up with that?
Yeah, I want a flying car. That would be cool.
Wow. Just looking at some of the comments here. Justin walked out of Fight Club an hour into it.
Really? I love Fight Club. I've watched Fight Club like 10 times.
And,
don't talk about Fight Club, though.
Jade's favorite Louis Gossett Jr. movie is Enemy Mine. Another movie I haven't seen.
I haven't seen that in years, but I like that movie. Dennis Quaid, right?
Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett together again. This obviously was after Jaws 3. But where's the Sergeant Rock movie I've been waiting for 25 years?
Here's a DC Bombshell cover.
Ooh, who is that?
Supergirl.
That's not Supergirl. I just saw that movie. It looks nothing like Helen Slater.
That is Bombshell Supergirl.
Did you ever see the Supergirl movie? You must.
Oh, yeah. I've seen every superhero movie ever made.
So what did you think of Supergirl?
It was okay. I mean, I don't think it was one of the worst movies ever made. I wouldn't write home about it. I mean, Faye Dunaway and Peter Cook were chewing up the scenery in that movie something awful.
Oh, yeah.
I
just watched it recently after not seeing it since it was released, and it's definitely dated, but it wasn't as bad as I think I remembered it. It was watchable.
It was better than Superman 3 and 4.
Yeah.
I mean, Superman 3 with Richard Pryor and the giant foam hat, and Robert Vaughn as the villain. His sister turning into a computer villain. I was like, oh, no, please, no.
But you had the bad Superman, which kind of balanced it a little bit.
Wasn't the bad? Yeah, I guess he was in Superman 3, huh?
Yeah.
Ugh.
You had Lana Lang and that O'Toole.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it had, out of that whole big mess of movie, it had a couple little tiny nuggets of goodness. I'm gonna have to revisit that movie.
Well, that's like, that's the beauty of DVD or Blu-ray, is you can like skip and watch just the good scenes of a movie.
Mhm.
Like Ang Lee's Hulk movie. That's a fine 22-minute movie if you like judiciously use scene selections.
Yeah.
And just watch certain parts of that movie, and you don't sit through 10 minutes of moss growing on rocks and Nick Nolte being Bruce Banner's abusive father and stuff. It's like, okay, Stan Lee and Lou Ferrigno cameo, Hulk in the desert. I think that's pretty much it. That's end. Great, great movie.
You didn't like the Naked Hulk attacked by dogs?
Yeah, maybe. The mutated giant dogs, yeah.
San Francisco taking a beating in that movie, once again.
I mean, that's like the Justice League movie with David Ogden Stiers as Martian Manhunter. You ever seen that one?
I have it. It's actually in this room. I have yet to sit down and watch it because I'm just saving it for, when I get into my ski accident and I'm paralyzed and I have absolutely nothing else to watch.
Then you turn it on and then you drop the remote control and you're laying there. Oh!
I have
turn it off.
What was it? I don't want to say not Challenge of the Superheroes.
Oh yeah, the roast.
Yes,
roast. Yeah.
There were two of them, and I've got both of those as Christmas gifts. Those were great. It was the first time.
Supposed to be coming out with the Batman TV series on DVD sometime soon.
It should be any day now.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it seemed like it was last year that they announced that as upcoming.
Mm-hmm.
I really want that. I had bought the bootlegs of that at the Phoenix Con 10 years ago, and Karma got me on that. Did I tell you that story ever?
No.
I never buy bootlegs of things at cons, and I broke down because a guy was selling the whole series of the Batman TV series on bootleg DVDs, probably 20 discs for, I don't know, like $50 or $60. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy it. And I bought it, and I had it in a bag with some other stuff, and I went and I saw a panel, and then I got up and I walked out of the room without that bag.
Oh, no.
And about 10 minutes later, I'm like, crap, where's that bag? And I went back to the room, and of course it was gone, and it was, some dollar bin comics and some trades and those DVDs, maybe a couple of action figures or something. So there's probably like $120 worth of stuff in this bag. But that was my karma zap for buying bootleg stuff. Don't do it.
If they do release it, what I really, really hope is that it is the uncut, unsyndicated versions, because they butchered that show, something terrible, when it went into syndication, just to get the time down. So I hope it's as close to the originals as we can get, and I hope that there's a lot of behind the scenes type stuff, because that's the beauty of
Have you ever seen the DVD Adam West Naked?
No,
not literally.
Thank God.
It's a DVD he made himself, and it's basically him reminiscing about every episode of the Batman TV series.
Wow.
And he filmed it himself at his house. I mean, the camera's on the tripod. You see him, he's turning the camera on, and he'll go and sit down, and he's in his workout room, and he's sitting on his weight bench or something, or he'll be sitting out in a chair in his backyard, or he's sitting by his fireplace, and he turns the camera on, and he's like, let me talk about episodes 21 and 22, and Burgess Meredith was on as the Penguin, and he'll tell some little funny anecdote about that episode, what he remembers about that episode, And he was just selling him. He probably still is. I mean, he's got a website, and he's just selling these things off his website.
Let's see if I can grab that.
I bought that, and I got like the autographed one was an extra 20, and it was like $40 or something to get it autographed, and or maybe it was like $25 or $45 was autographed, something like that, But yeah, what the hell? We tossed some coin to Adam West. I'm sure he doesn't have a huge revenue stream pouring in, but it was entertaining. I liked watching it.
Well, I think that show. That's going to be a huge, huge seller because I know for me, that particular show, Batman, and The Adventures of Superman were probably the two biggest influences into pushing me into comic books. Because that was literally my first exposure to superheroes, were those two programs. I mean, I remember watching Batman as a kid, religiously. First run, I remember it. And I remember, at the end of every episode during the credits, as seen in DC or national periodical publications. I was like, "What is this? I gotta look this up."
I know that I've got all the episodes of the George Reeves Superman series on DVD already. I've got the Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. I've got all the Incredible Hulk. I've got New Adventures, I got Clark and Lois, I've got Smallville, I've got the John Wesley ship Flash. I mean, if they did some TV show of a superhero, I would buy the damn thing, and it's...
What about the Superboy series?
I've got that too, yeah.
That I've never seen. I'm looking at a poster of it, that's why I keep looking over here.
What was his name? Like Gerard Christopher or something like that?
I think there were two of them. I can't really see the names from here. But, yeah, it was a show that I missed.
If it came out on DVD, I bought it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a period when I would buy all those things. And
back when DVDs used to be cheap and you could pick them up for nothing.
Yeah.
Just an afterthought. Well, cool.
At our hour, our powerful hour of power.
It. I'm spent. All this reminiscing has drained me. But I think, you know what? We talked about TV shows. I think next time we should talk about cartoons. I mean, we've kind of dabbled in it here and there, but maybe we should come up with a list of maybe two lists. Maybe your top whatever number favorite superhero-related cartoons and top whatever.
Just any of those, so I could include Johnny Quest and Space Ghost.
Yes, exactly. And Josie and the Pussycats in outer space.
But if you put Jabberjaw on your list, I can no longer do this show with you.
I was actually going to put Grape Ape on there, but since you mentioned it, Scooby-Doo's Laugh Olympics, the list goes on and on. But that's for another day. So let's wrap this up. Geez, I think you had mentioned a website earlier. What was that site again?
It would be comicspectrum.com.
Oh, it's right there under your name.
Right there under my name. Go and visit it. Reviews of new comics, and just on the main site, all kinds of what I hope is good reference material. I mean, I always see people asking questions, and I kind of point them at, well, I've got a page for that. Like buying comics, buying digital comics, buying original art, framing your art, any of that kind of stuff. I've got reference material, and if I don't, let me know, and I'll try to figure out some way to add it.
All right.
I know a little bit about comics.
And with that, we're going to wrap this up, and thanks to everybody for joining us. And if you don't see us on YouTube, check out Comic Spectrum, because you may find a link there to this episode.
That's right. I typically have the latest episode pinned on the Facebook page for Comic Spectrum, and the latest episode is also embedded on the front page of Comic Spectrum. And if you click through on that, you'll go to the page where I've got all the episodes we've done on that page, on the Pop Cult Online Power Hour page.
And just a real quick note, I recently found something I thought was lost forever, and that is the first 15 episodes of the show that I did when it was just the Pop Cult Online, before we became powerful. I thought those were lost to the ages. I found them, and I'm going to figure out a way to get them up, probably on Facebook, maybe set up another page. I don't know. We'll figure it out, but...
the lost archives of
Pop
Cult Online
episodes. All right. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you again next time on the Pop Cult Online Power Hour. I tipped my hat. Good night.
We're out.
We're out.